So all defensive team was announced recently, and none of the Lakers, despite being named the best defensive team, or at least top 3 since the end of the season, none of the players were named all defensive team. Mark, what are your thoughts about that?
Can someone play the X-Files conspiracy music again?
Oh, we got another conspiracy.
I kind of feel like the NBA didn't want us to win again, or didn't want to give us any achievements this year because they're just hating on us. Because it sounds like, we're that fat chubby 16-year-old that goes, whatever, you're just hating on us, you're just hating. But I kind of feel that. I mean, come on, they couldn't give us one, not one.
If there was anyone that deserved it, it was Caruso.
Absolutely. Or even, yeah, AD was in and out, but the fact that was any of the players, did any of them get a vote?
No, there's 4 players that got a vote. Dennis Schroeder, Anthony Davis, Alex Caruso, and I want to say it was Kentavious Caldwell-Pope who got the 4th one.
Oh, okay. So, but still, but none of us, even though we had the highest rating out of all the other teams for most of the year, right?
Yeah, they were first for the longest time, and I think when the stars were out, then they dropped down to second. But still, if you're the top 2, let's say even top 5, and you guys have to have flexible players come into your team and in and out, just it's crazy the amount of names that have been on this team that are new, especially since the trade deadline. And they just come in and have to learn on the spot, hey, you have to go pick it up. This is, again, that's another sentiment to Frank Vogel and how amazing job he has done on the defensive end, even though he doesn't know jack s about what to do on the offensive play. On the offensive end, Frank Vogel has done an amazing job with his team and how to lead them to the defensive end to win games.
Yeah, and I guess the damage was done when they just kind of started doo-dooing on themselves when it came to them losing games and everyone injured, and so I get it, but at the same time I still feel I don't know, I feel like this year the Lakers got the least amount of love that was available out there, and yeah, that's my conspiracy. What about you?
Well, all NBA teams, I guess you could say, it was made up well because LeBron James did get selected to all NBA second team. The first team is kind of hard to convince them otherwise to put LeBron in there because it's Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, Kawhi Leonard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Nikola Jokic.
Once again, haters.
You think that's a conspiracy? You think LeBron James should have been in the first team?
No, he's still my stepdad, and I miss Kobe. That's what I really think.
The second team could possibly beat the first team because it's Chris Paul, Lillard, Damian Lillard, LeBron James, Julius Randle, and Joel Embiid. So that's a pretty stacked second team.
Dude. If they played 5-on-5, I'm totally taking that second team over the first. How about you?
I would still go with the first because Kawhi matched up with LeBron is kind of a wash, but Giannis beats Julius Randle, and then the backcourt for the second team can stick up to the first team.
So I was about to say that backcourt of CP3 and Lillard would be unstoppable.
Right.
Yeah, I think Zach's just being a millennial right now and going with the favorites. That's what I feel. That's very millennial of you, Zach.
Yeah, I'll take Jake Paul over anybody any day. How about that?
Fine.
So something that you mentioned last segment, that you won't go for the Clippers. At least you would pick the Suns. You share the same sentiments as Laker legends Robert Horry and Shaquille O'Neal. So on the Big Podcast, a new podcast released by Shaquille O'Neal, Shaq had on Robert Horry, and this was the question posed to the Now Spectrum analyst.
Robert, we're going to get you out of here on this one. I watch you on Spectrum all the time out here in L.A. And so now that the Lakers are out, because you talk about the Lakers a lot, the Clippers are still in. So is it like home team? Do you want the Clippers to win a championship? Because there's that rivalry?
Hellno.com.
The only reason I would root for the Clippers is because of Ty Lue. Ty Lue won championship with us in L.A., but you cannot have the Clippers try to put up a damn banner in Staples Center. They don't belong in Staples. They need to get up out of there with a hurry, with a quickness. So, no.
Mark, your thoughts?
Well, of course. I'm going to say the same thing. The Clippers are always going to be our little brother, but the little brother that we never wanted because they were adopted. And they kind of just moved in and we're like, all right, whatever, we got to put up with them. But The last thing I would want is for them, clearly, I remember back in the day we all hated LeBron and didn't want him to win a ring. Clearly, years have passed and that's different now. But with the Clippers, that was the second part, the second thing was a lot of Laker fans never wanted to see the Clippers ever win a championship because it's always a fun joke to continue at least. I still want to be able to say Clippers still haven't won, still haven't done anything. Taylor Swift had a banner before they did. Every team that's played at Staples Center has a banner, and I always want them to never be. I want them to be bannerless at least at Staples Center. I mean after that, but I want them to change their name too. Just completely change their name from LA.
Wow. So what do you want it to be named? The Orange Clippers?
I don't know. We'll call it. Yeah, we'll call them the Buena Park Trash Cans or something like that. I don't know. Completely rename them, even though they're going to be in Inglewood, but just give them like a city's name that no one wants to live in.
The Torrance Clippers.
Yeah, there you go.
I do. Okay, here's the thing. As somebody who's been helping the Clippers via iHeart,
whatever.
I've been. This is a similar case of me when the Bruins were winning a lot of games in the March Madness tournament. I was like, please just lose so that way, like, end the season as fast as possible so I could go on summer vacation. Or like in the Bruins case, it was spring break. But I've like wanted it to happen. Now that I see that they even the score of the series with the Jazz at 2-2, I'm like looking at the rest of the playoff field and I'm like, the Clippers have a very, very good chance of winning it. And Laker fans are going to be upset. I won't be because my payroll will be hitting, and it's kind of a win-win. Like, it's when you bet against somebody you don't like, so it's a win if they win, it's a win if they lose. Like, you get to, experiment in both ways.
Okay, let me ask you this. If you had no association with them...
I would hate this.
Okay, there you go.
You know what this is? Kawhi is perfectly set up to win a championship this year because Kawhi Leonard does this like almost every time where you saw it with Toronto where it was like, oh, this perfectly set up right before his lap. Like Kevin Durant was hurt, Klay Thompson was hurt, the Warriors were vulnerable, and that was the perfect time for the Raptors to make it out of the East, even though the East wasn't as stacked as they were most years with LeBron James there,
It was dumb luck, and I kind of feel this year is dumb luck. Like things are just inspiring the way how they are. Lakers are out the first round. Who had that on their, on their betting chart?
Maybe Phoenix, but they're dumb Phoenix fans. I mean, you have to be pretty dumb to be like an NBA fan and still root for the Suns in this case.
I will say they do have some dope jerseys, though.
Huh? No, they do. I really can't be mad at the Suns. Like, I'm still bitter. That's the part of me that was bitter saying that. But, like, they're still dumb fans.
Just as an aside, when I was preparing that audio clip, Zach, I noticed that Shaq made a remark earlier in the clip where he said that Bill Walton doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. And that kind of stuck to me. What are your thoughts about that?
The reason why he said that is probably because of how biased he was as an announcer, like as a commentator. Do you remember back on NBA on NBC days where he was the color commentator and how like every single game I remember Bill Walton was the color commentator. It was so obvious that he wanted the Portland Trailblazers to win.
Well, obviously.
Or like he wanted the Sacramento Kings to win. He was like, the refs are not giving Portland Portland with his stuttering problem. Like, they're not giving Portland enough credit, or Sacramento Kings are doing as much as they can. Chris Webber is getting fouled by Shaq. I'm just like, shut up, Bill. Like that was my first experience as a biased commentator watching Bill Walton commentate those games.
The same could be kind of said like with Reggie Miller. Like every time like he's commentating when the Lakers are playing, it's kind of obvious he's always going for the team that the Lakers are playing against. I mean, at least with me, maybe I'm the biased one, but I always feel like some of these commentators, like, once again, Lakers aren't getting a lot of love, especially from, like, some of these commentators. So I get it. I completely get it. But, I mean, I don't know about not having him in the Hall of Fame.
Do you want to know what his insurance is, by the way? What Reggie Miller's insurance is to, like, make it seem like he goes, like, but you can never count out LeBron James. You can never count out LeBron.
So he hates the Lakers but likes LeBron. That's pretty much what he said.
But that's his insurance. It's just, like, he will always have that dig. It's just, like... It's like, hey, like you give a life advice and you're like, but I don't know, man. That's up to you. Like that's the Reggie Miller going like, I can say what I say about the Lakers because I also say, but you can never count out LeBron James. That's him.
So he's the, I don't know, man. I just work here kind of guy.
Exactly. That's Reggie Miller. He's obviously.
I just don't want to get fired.
I just don't want to get fired. So I think like Shaq probably has beef with Bill, which is why he said that. of course, Bill Walton deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Just for his college career alone.
Yeah, his college career too. But not to get sidetracked real quick. So back to the Clippers. The Clippers will open their arena in 2024. And unfortunately, they are staying. It's inevitable. They will be staying in the LA area. Do you think the Clippers should hold off on putting a banner up at Staples if they do win it this year?
I mean, obviously, if they're going to win it this year, they're going to win it, at Staples Center. So, I would not take away their right, especially the fans. Like, I have a lot of friends that are Clipper fans, so I think of them. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that. But they're very close friends, and I love them all very much. But I just hate their team. That's the only thing I do that I don't like is I hate their team. But I've never disrespected them personally or anything like that. Actually, that's how we met originally. But shout out to Rick Daddy. But if they win it, put it up. You deserve it. You guys won. It was a weird year. It was a very dumb luck year, but you guys deserve it because and I wouldn't mind it. If they do it all the way, they got it. They deserve it. I don't know how you feel, but that's how I feel at least.
All right. So Steve Mason said it best. He brought up a very good point when we interviewed him on this show.
Yep.
He said, look, a lot of people, because I think it was you that asked the question of like, would you put an asterisk on the championship that the Lakers won? And he was like, I'll put an asterisk for a different reason. It was much harder than other years because they had to go into a bubble, be trapped and away from their family. And it was pretty much them like not being isolated. So it was a mental stressor for their head. And it wasn't like the teams that joined the bubble didn't know what they were signing up for. They all were like, okay, we're fully aware that we're going to do this. And it's practically like Survivor, where like the reality show, where it's just like you'll get voted off the island once your team is eliminated. The Lakers were the last team standing, and every NBA fan that signed up for it with their stupid team at that point, then all of a sudden complained. It was like, this is not a real title. This is not a real title. So I think the Lakers did win legitimately, which then caused this quick turnaround to happen this year, which is not a full 82-game season, which then you had 4 teams, like we mentioned, the Denver Nuggets, the Boston Celtics, the Lakers, and the Miami Heat, all 4 of them being hindered. So those are the 4 best teams that had star players all experience injuries this year. And I really do feel as if you're taking those 4 teams out, which is why the playoffs are so boring right now.
You know what I just thought of? So technically, since the Lakers are out, we're actually going to have like a full off season, right? Kinda?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So these teams that are going to be making it into the finals, they are not, because we're still going to start this season in October, I believe, right?
Yeah, it'll be just like it was planned for like a full regular season.
Yeah, right. Okay, so we're back to normal business. So I guess technically the NBA finals would be held when? July. Okay, so August, September, October, so 3 months. So those teams that make it at least that far, they're gonna have a short off season. So with that being said, I guess like if the Phoenix Suns and CP3, if they go all the way and they win it all, they might have the same bad luck that we did this year because of that.
Yeah. Same with the Clippers. I mean, the Clippers
same with the Clippers.
That the Clippers might say like, hey, we finally lifted this curse of getting out of the second round. We made it to the championship, whatever. And then it's a quick turnaround for them with very injury-prone stars in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Or with the Nets, like, okay, look at the Nets are barely crawling into the Eastern Conference Finals. They're down right now to the Bucks, but at the same time, like, in order for them to get past the Bucks, I mean, imagine like a Harden that is now hurt with his hamstring injury having to go through the playoffs. A Kyrie Irving who's had it's been well documented since college days that he's had ankle injuries. And then Kevin Durant has to be like, well, damn, dude, who do I have?